What's up, everybody? Miguel here, and here we are for another Safe Zone Unicorn Network video. Let's go. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Guys, today I have a very special video for you. Actually, I'm not going to, today I'm just going to make the introduction for what you are going to listen. Last Thursday, we have every Thursdays our Safezone Radio Show, hosted by our Unicorn Network CEO, Cate Kozikowski. And last week she had a very special guest, his name is Jorge Sebastião. He's the CTO, if I'm not wrong, is related to the Danatec, which is one of the recent partners of the Unicorn Network. One is working with Danatec, obviously. And guys, last week, if I'm not wrong, it was last Wednesday, there was a huge cyber breach. Lots of people lost lots of Bitcoin related with Twitter, and lots of Twitter accounts that were hacked, and they have made a very interesting discussion about it, guys. I will leave on the cards and on the description a video that I did explaining where you can find the radio shows, where to go. But guys, today I am just here basically to let you know that it's almost half an hour of talk between them, but it's a very, very interesting about talking cybersecurity and very interesting things that you are going to listen, okay? So guys, if you don't forget to give that like down below, subscribe to my channel, click the bell and turn on your notifications. And guys, I am going to leave you with Cate Kozikowski and with Jorge Sebastião, and I will talk to you very, very soon, guys.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another exciting hour in the Safe Zone. My name is Cate, your host. Thank you all for joining me. We have some very interesting news to talk about today, and very soon I will be joined by a very special guest as well, who will be sharing some insight as a security and blockchain expert. And maybe you have guessed, what we will be talking about today is the huge hack that happened at Twitter yesterday, which is crazy, totally crazy, because the accounts that were affected at Twitter were actually just about all it's the so-called blue checkmark accounts, which means that these are people who have verified their identity with Twitter. And so generally speaking, we've also known that at least some of these accounts use two-factor authentication. So how did this happen? It is unclear at this time, but it raises some very serious questions about both the security at Twitter, about these kinds of reports and things going unnoticed for a long time, and so many other things. So we're going to be talking all about that today. Now, for those who maybe are unaware of this hack that happened, it was reported yesterday. It started about 1 p.m. No, it was 1 p.m. Pacific time, about 4 p.m. Eastern time. And really amazing. What happened was this group, or these individuals who were doing these actions, they had somehow gotten a hold of some Twitter admin tools. So it is quite possible that this is part of a coordinated attack, and also may involve Twitter employees themselves. So very interesting things that happened. So what happened was these accounts that were compromised, it included people like Elon Musk, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, so many other celebrities, big name political figures, and they were tweeting out this Bitcoin scam, essentially, where they were saying, hey, if you send us a small amount of Bitcoin in the next 30 minutes, then we will send you back double that amount. And let me just tell you, folks, anytime you see something like that, you should definitely be aware or beware, meaning stay away from it. That is definitely a classic maneuver by the bad guys to try and steal your Bitcoins in this case, or any other kind of crypto that they use. And so it is really just amazing what has been happening. And you know what's crazy is this same kind of ad was running on YouTube just a couple of days ago as well, with some of these big name people. Joe Rogan, even Jack Dorsey was named on YouTube in these ads, trying to get people to send their Bitcoin. And it is just crazy. So the fallout of this is just going to be, amazing. We have not even scratched the surface of it. And we're going to be talking about this for quite some time. Like we talked about the Equifax hack that happened a while ago. This is another one that's going to be talked about for a very long time, because Twitter is used as a platform for, people to get information, not just chat with their friends and stuff, but public services, fire departments, police, and other emergency services. It actually happened that an earthquake was being reported right at this time when this hack happened, and Twitter had locked down all of the accounts that had the blue check mark when they discovered what was going on. And so they couldn't tweet out about this earthquake that was going on. So people, or maybe it was an earthquake, actually, I think it was a tornado warning. Either way, though, people in local areas were trying to get information. They were prevented because of this attack that was going on. And I know myself, we had a forest fire near my place a couple of weeks ago, and I was going on Twitter to get information from the local fire department when that happened. So this is really amazing. And we're going to be talking about this more in our show. And right after my name is Cate, and you're listening to the Safezone Radio Show. Thank you all for sticking with us. Now, I'd like to introduce our very special guest who will be joining us today. His name is Jorge Sebastião. He is a IT expert, a blockchain and data security expert, and is part of the Danatec team. So welcome. Thank you so much, Jorge, for joining us today.
It is my pleasure to be here, somewhere between Bahrain and the Middle East.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. So Jorge is here to share with us some of his insights about what has been going on with Twitter. And maybe if you would mind, share a little bit more detail about yourself and your experience, Jorge, for our listeners.
Okay, sure. It's my great pleasure to be here. My name is Jorge Sebastião. I have about 35 years of experience in information technology. And out of those 35 years, over 20 years has been in cybersecurity, and over 5 years has been in blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and associated. I actually graduated as a mathematician in Ottawa, Canada, but I also worked on a master's in the University of London in cybersecurity, and I teach cybersecurity since 1999, where I teach one of the first hacking courses in the Middle East. I spent the last 25 years across the whole Middle East and about 25 countries in Africa, a bit of Asia, China, and quite a few countries. But right now, I'm mostly around the GCC area and parts of Europe as well.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, thank you again for joining us. And I saw that you actually were a speaker at the World Blockchain Summit in Asia just probably a few hours ago, your time. How was that experience?
It was amazing, actually. We just had a blockchain show called World Blockchain Summit. Actually, 2 days ago, we had the World AI Show, which was in Dubai. And we had the World Blockchain Summit in Asia, based out of Singapore, but basically broadcasting to the entire world with, basically keynote speakers from all over the world, quite big experience. So from the Middle East, we had people like, Dr. Marwan, which is the CISO of Dubai, myself, and quite a few other famous speakers and blockchain and cybersecurity. My topic was actually about blockchain and cybersecurity, privacy. And I guess the timing of the Twitter hacking is timely in the sense that, but I've been speaking about blockchain and cybersecurity now for almost 4 years. And one of my first speeches on this topic was in St. Petersburg, Russia, about 4 years ago.
Wow. Excellent. So, now that's a great segue into our topic for today. So what are your thoughts on this? How could something like this happen at Twitter where they could get a hold of these administration tools and into these supposedly secure accounts?
Well, there's many things. First, let's backtrack a little bit that I think is quite important.
Sure.
Hacking of Twitter has been going on for quite a long time. And if you have noticed, this kind of Bitcoin and Ethereum scams or blockchain-based scams around Twitter have been going on for at least 3 years, where in the early days, they centered primarily around advertising. So what happens, advertising was done around famous influencers and social media known people or people that are owners or CEOs of blockchain companies, like firm like CZ, which is the founder and CEO of Binance, and so on. So next to any of one of these tweets, they're saying, well, CZ is donating, or for example, one of the creators of Ethereum, and so on. So this has been going on for some time, but through the advertising part of Twitter, not directly of these accounts specifically. So that means the problem is actually not from today. It's been going on for quite a long time. And for sure, millions of dollars so far has been lost. The current hack today actually did not lose too much money. It was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which compares relatively small to the $2 billion that was lost last year to attacks against exchanges, against, for example, people losing their crypto keys and many others. So, there's quite a whole of issues. More specifically about this hack, I think it's important to note that most of it is preventable in the sense that, let's first talk about the hack against Twitter itself. We don't know the details, how it was conducted yet, but I'm sure an audit will provide a forensic analysis. We'll do that over the next few days or weeks.
Sure.
But it does not really matter how it happened, because everybody is hackable. Every system is hackable. If the NSA was hackable, so Twitter obviously does not have more security than the NSA does.
Right.
So you can say that. So I think we all know that Snowden was able to get information out of the NSA. So Twitter is much further down the line in capabilities of being able to protect itself.
Yeah.
Hacks are actually relatively easy to do. I mean, for example, I know that on the market today we have zero-day attack against what is called Google Chrome, and they're selling this hack for about $1 million on the market. So that means whoever buys this hack is able to hack any system where somebody is actually running Google Chrome as a browser. So it means they'll be able to take ownership of the system. And once you take ownership of an administrator account or somebody in relatively power within that environment, then you can easily, take over the entire facility and slowly propagate the capabilities of what can be done.
Wow.
So the first thing is really about protecting the administration aspect and tying down the infrastructure of the Twitter network. Not just Twitter, but I think it's important to note all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and the other social media. It seems that this hack somehow was well planned in the sense that the people could have hacked probably a large number of accounts, but chose to pick and choose influencers or people that had high net worth and obviously a large number of followers and recognized or what we sometimes call verified, which is the yellow logo beside their name. So that means it's a brand name, it's recognized. So people will assume that this is true statement, not a false one.
Yeah.
So it's easy to kind of get people to, fall into this trap. Now, so the first part is really about securing the system. The second part that could have probably helped prevent this has nothing to do with securing the system. Is actually conducting user awareness with the average user. I do believe that people tend to focus on technology tools and investment on technology to protect the infrastructure, like two-factor authentication, multi-factor firewall, intrusion detection systems, and whitelisting, and many technologies. However, this only stops 30 or 40% of the hacks. Most of the hacks today are still conducted because of social engineering. That means fooling somebody to do something they are not inclined to do by default. So because this was conducted from those accounts that have influence and are well recognized, that really means people would obey the request of those influential people without questioning whether there's an issue.
Gotcha.
So it means we have to have people question the media, any social media. And then we're back to the same issue, which is not even Twitter or blockchain or crypto, but the issue that has been in the media for quite a long time, which is the issue of fake news. So you can say this is a form of fake news, but a fake news for profit.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think all fake news is for profit in some fashion, otherwise they wouldn't do it. They've got to be profiting from it somewhere.
Yeah. The profit and the motives are different. Maybe the profit motives is to get somebody elected or not elected.
Yep.
So in the end, yes, you can say the long-term returns on such a scam are much more profitable as a result. So you can say in this case, the financial impact was not so big, but I think the wake-up call was bigger. The stock value of Twitter took a big dive as a result, which demonstrates the company did not respond in a timely enough manner.
Yes.
Since I've been involved in cybersecurity for over 20 years, one of the things I created is a framework to help organizations prevent themselves or do a better job of doing cybersecurity. And I used to call this the A6 of security. So this A6 is that each A actually means something of value. So the first A is called assess. That means if you want to know how to do security, you need to do an audit and understand what is your risks and your vulnerability. Once you know what is the problem, then you can solve it. So the second A stands for architect, which really means how you design the proper security to eliminate or mitigate the risks against that infrastructure. The third A is apply, which is the implementation and the installation of the security measures. The fourth A stands for administer, which is the things you should do every day. It's like, for example, monitoring. You need to have alerts that something has gone wrong, and then you need to respond to it. So if nobody is looking at the screen and the screen goes red, we got a serious problem.
Yeah.
This is not unique. This is not unique to Twitter, to everybody. The fifth A stands for agility, which really means anytime there is an act, time-based security matters. How quickly you respond to an attack eliminates the amount of damage that you do.
Absolutely, yep.
And the last element is probably the most important A of all of them, which is awareness. No matter what you do in security, if you do not spend the time to give training and knowledge and refresh that knowledge regularly, you will not be able to help the users defend themselves. One concept we introduced a few years ago is called the human firewall, which means you want to give the humans or the persons or the users enough knowledge to question everything they see and then react in a more safe manner. Now, all these are protection mechanisms. I usually make it a bit like the way you drive a car, okay? If you drove a car 20 years ago, there was no seat belts, okay? So that really means it was quite dangerous thing to do. So we introduced seat belts. That was not enough. So then we introduced things like traction control, meaning, you know, when you brake, you can brake in a safe way. We introduced airbags. So in case you hit something, then you don't hurt yourself. Then we introduced collision avoidance systems. So that means if the driver and the airbag does not take, then the car itself can help, and so on. And cars like more sophisticated like Tesla even have AI systems and cameras to almost, you know, prevent 99% of the accidents. But that really means that even a car like Tesla with all these mechanisms, with AI and everything, can still get into an accident if you are reckless and if the user does not take care. So, and there has obviously been a few accidents, not too many, but much less, but still a few, quite important. So that really means the same thing has to be applied in traditional systems like social media, banking systems, blockchain, crypto systems. So you need to have this layered approach to defend yourself and basically apply the 6 A's that I talked to you about.
Sure.
And then basically, operate in the safest possible environment. Now, does it mean that you're going to be 100% secure? The answer is no. But at least you'll be 99.99% secure, which I think will stop or at least eliminate even attacks such as today to actually have a very big impact, and they'll have a very minor impact overall.
Wow. Yeah. So that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear you've come up with this really great kind of way of going about it with the 6 A's of security. That's really great. And the human firewall is absolutely fantastic. You know, we share a lot of knowledge to bring awareness to our listeners on the Safezone Radio Show. We're constantly talking about ways that they can help keep themselves safe and things to avoid and look out for and all of that stuff. So I think that is absolutely important when you're talking about that human firewall, and that's just us as people looking at things objectively and using discernment to think before we take action. Is this legitimate? Should I do this? You know, what might be the consequences? Those are all things that we should think about before we do anything, no matter what is going on. So that is really fantastic. Now, we do need to cut to a commercial break.
CKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. You are listening to the Safezone Radio Show. My name is Kate, your host. Today, I am joined with a very special guest, Jorge Sebastião, who is the head of technology at Danatec and a blockchain cybersecurity expert. And we've been talking about this Twitter hack that happened yesterday. Jorge has been sharing some fantastic information, especially about what companies can do and what we can do as individuals to protect ourselves. Now, Jorge, I had another question. So with this Bitcoin scam that they ran, now you mentioned, okay, this time around, it was only about $100,000 that was stolen from people. Essentially,
a little bit over 200,000. I mean,
okay, 200,000
news could,
sure,
which is relatively small compared to other. Compared to 2 billion.
Yes, exactly.
Year.
Yeah. But so the real question is, how can these scammers be so sure they won't be caught by doing these kinds of scams?
Well, because today on the internet is relatively easy to impersonate somebody else. And the internet does not have borders. So the hacks can really come from any part of the world.
Wow.
So they could be, you really don't know where they are. They could be next to you in America. They could be in Russia. They could be in China. They could be in North Korea. They could be in Japan. So you understand, and they'll probably be behind multiple layers of impersonation, which makes it quite difficult to track. There was a famous book about cybersecurity that was introduced a few years back called Cuckoo's Egg, in which one of the famous cybersecurity individuals, who was originally an astronomer, was able to catch a hacker, but it took him something like 7 years before he was able to actually catch him from the point he identified that a hack has actually taken place. So that means sometimes catching the bad individual requires a lot of patience and a lot of dedication.
Yeah, definitely. And, they could be thinking of it just simply kind of like how some corporations think, where they just do what they want to do and they figure, we'll just pay whatever fines happen later. So these hackers could be thinking, whatever gets caught, that's fine. We got this other stuff that didn't get caught. That could be also something to do with it too. It's just kind of the cost of them doing business, essentially. The whatever is caught, that we lost that, but we got so much other on top of it that wasn't found. So that also could be a motivation, I think, why they keep doing these things. And like we talked about too with the human firewall, it's and we talk about this on the show, a lot of times these kinds of things can be prevented by the users, the people, having awareness of what's going on, at least that they shouldn't trust something right off the hop. They should, look into it and check into it before they just go and do something. So very interesting stuff there. And, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe apart from this, I think we have to learn from these experiences, and we need to put the right controls in place and security awareness so that this does not happen again.
Absolutely.
So I think the blockchain and the crypto companies have a responsibility to conduct this security awareness campaign, as well as social media as well. I do believe social media needs to be a little bit or much more responsible than they have been in the past. I mean, given in the end, they're also raking in the profits from all the advertising associated with it.
Yes.
And a good percentage of that advertising is actually scammed.
Oof. Yeah, that is ridiculous. Wow. It just blows your mind. You're absolutely right. These companies are making money from the ads, and the ads are scams, and yet they're still letting everybody be scammed.
Well, I mean, there's some countries or a group of countries like European Union that have been a little bit more tough against that. And they're about 2 years ago, they put in place what's called the GDPR, which led to the creation of the privacy standard ISO 277001002, which really means that we are on the right track to put the measures in place, to analyze the problem and then to put the right controls to protect the user, which is really the most vulnerable chain in the whole equation.
Yeah, and the most valuable to their business. Without the users, they would have no business.
Well, that is actually the point. If there's a loss of trust, the users will go somewhere else.
Exactly.
And everybody loses. So that means originally the internet was not designed to conduct e-commerce, but today with blockchain, we have established a substantially higher level of trust. So I do believe that in order for us to preserve this trust, we need to also extend it to the necessary security awareness as well. So security awareness programs is an extremely important component to actually drive the right level of security, not just technology by itself.
Yes, I agree on that one. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, George. I don't want to keep you. I know you have a very busy schedule, and we definitely appreciate all of your time today. So thank you so much again. We definitely love to have you back.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Next time, maybe we will have a little bit more time to discuss. And I do believe there is a lot of, especially in the blockchain area, areas of vulnerability that need to be addressed. One example would be smart contracts, because it's code, and the code is also itself vulnerable. And another area is the growth of what we call DeFi, which is distributed finance. So I see a lot of upcoming problems in DeFi that need to be addressed as well.
Excellent. Well, I would love to have you back on the show, and we can talk about those topics as well at another time.